Warning, this podcast typically features spoilers and strong opinions. Proceed with caution.
Welcome to Two Grooms, One Plot, the podcast, where two lifelong storytellers talk about stories. They're also married. I am Pavi Proczko, audiobook narrator, author, storyteller, etc.
And I'm Colin Funk, childhood development expert and teaching artist.
And today we're going to be talking about Wicked.
Part 1.
The movie. Very exciting. But first, let's get to our moment of the week.
Okay. I'll go first.
Great.
We just started watching this series called Somebody Somewhere.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
I don't know why
Somewhere.
I'm like, what is it called? Yes, Somebody Somewhere, which I am really liking a lot.
Yeah, I'm
actually.
enjoying it too.
I am surprised by it, and I think they're telling a small story really well.
Yeah.
It's uncluttered. It's
It's like on HBO, and it's like
sweetened.
in contrast to like the Game of Thrones thing, and like you know, Succession, where these like big epic things are happening, and this is like really tiny small town story. It's like but how huge those moments are, really, for us as people.
I've been enjoying it, but there's an episode recently where spoilers. We're talking about spoilers. Where the main character has been going to voice lessons, but she kind of got upset at one of the voice lessons because she was feeling too many emotions mostly. And we find out like a couple of episodes after she hasn't been seeing this voice teacher for a while that this voice teacher has passed away. And she's listening to the tape from her last lesson and like is inspired to sing Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, which is a song that I believe that they worked on back in high school. Back when, what is her name?
Sam was in high school? Yeah.
Yeah. The main character, Sam, when she was in high school, they had worked on this and there's some history around it, but she's like, she's going to sing this song in order to process, I assume. But they end the episode with her singing the song at the piano, and they get to the point where she sings the line, "Through the years we all will be together," and then has to stop. And I'm like, yeah, that's where I would have had to stop too. It just was such a brilliant moment that feels so real to me. First of all, I absolutely would have done the same thing. Like that is such a weird
kind of singer thing to do.
I don't know. Like it feels absolutely right that like if I were in that situation, I think I absolutely would have done the same thing.
Yeah.
And I absolutely would have had to stop singing at that exact moment. It feels so genuine to me. And that news comes out of left field for that episode, but still feels like the conclusion of the episode, weirdly. The way they're telling stories is very interesting.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll talk about it, but like, I really like that.
Yeah,
show.
I love that. That's a good moment. That was a good moment.
It's a good moment.
Oof.
What about you?
What about me? I have been playing Zelda Tears of the Kingdom.
How's that been going?
It's really good. And what I love most about it, I think, is that it's kind of, it allows you to like live in the world of Breath of the Wild a little bit longer. So it's the same map, but expanded, and there's like new elements to it, but it's the same world. It's just a direct sequel. And they've done it again with their storytelling. I think we talked about this before, where it's like you find these little locations in the world to collect memories in the first one, because you don't remember anything, so you're collecting memories. I think that's actually very elegant. They did something similar for this to expand the story. Zelda has disappeared and she has flown into the past, and you're trying to figure out what's going on and how she's affecting the present. And you get little moments throughout the map. They've done basically like remade the game. So I can understand why anyone might complain about it, I guess. I don't know if anyone has complained about it because it's kind of like, oh, you're doing that game again, just bigger. But I really love that mode of storytelling. And it's inspired me to write a book in that vein.
Ooh.
So I'm in the process of doing that, where there's like the way the story, the backstory unfolds is little by little and not necessarily chronological.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be chronological. And I really dig that. I love it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope that you actually write this thing.
Actually finish the book. Mm-hmm.
You're the best writer I know who has never finished a product.
Yeah.
You finish short stories.
Yeah, I've finished some things.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Let's move on to Wicked.
Wicked.
But first, we have to stop by the Story Lab. Pavi, take it away.
Welcome to the Story Lab. Today we're going to be talking about the new Wicked movie. And it brings up some interesting questions about how to adapt, because the Wicked movie was originally a stage Broadway musical. So when we're talking about adaptations, there are two elements that are important to discuss. One is the time genre. We're talking about character experience of time and the audience experience of time. The second is medium. We're talking about how the creator of the story has conveyed the information to the audience and how the audience is able to process that information. Regarding time, the film and the musical roughly span the same amount of time, with Elphaba's childhood into school and then after the events of The Wizard of Oz. But of course, between the musical and the movie has been split into two parts, and we'll get to that because that has to do with the medium. When we're considering how long our medium is going to be, a lot of that has to do with audience expectation. When an audience sits down for a Broadway show, they're expecting to be there for about 3 hours, and there really rarely ever is a sequel. Whereas movies, a lot of the time, do have sequels, so we already have that expectation in mind. Regarding the medium, we have our stage show, which is performed live with music and acting, versus the movie, which is recorded with music and acting. So we have our audience experiencing the musical live as it's happening, and we have the audience experiencing a recording after the fact in the film. So our ability as an audience to suspend disbelief is different for those two experiences. One, we're looking at the stage play. We can see that it's a bunch of people. There's limited manpower. There's limited time. There's limited energy. We are willing to suspend our disbelief. We are willing to allow for skips in some story. We will fill the holes in the story in our mind. When we look at the movie, we're really close up to people's faces. There's an expectation of realism. So we get to expand the story. And we see that happening in the Wicked movie. That's the biggest change that we see. We have a 3-hour film that's half of the story because we get so much extra stuff. We get Glinda's background. We get Elphaba's background. We get more animals. We get some more activity with the wizard. And it allows us to really live in that world. In the episode, we're going to discuss how successful were they at implementing these changes from the stage show to the movie. We'll catch you there. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Pavi. So, Wicked.
So Wicked.
What do we think?
I mean, I loved it.
Yeah, I know. Me too. I mean, just from the out the gate, I loved it a lot.
Yeah. I mean, like, okay, I was primed. I was nervous.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, everything I kept hearing about it. I was like, okay, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good too. Like, I mean, Cynthia Erivo.
Yeah, like hearing about the casting.
Excellent.
Cynthia Erivo.
Ariana.
Was worrying
I knew
at
that
first,
she was
but then
like absolutely capable of doing it, but whether or not they would want her to like pop it up was like a concern of mine.
Yeah.
And
Jeff Goldblum. Perfect.
I mean, some good casting choices. But I kept at every point tempering my expectations because I've been burned before by things that I was excited about. And I was like, I'm just going to keep those expectations low. That way I can just go and have fun. And no matter how much they mess it up, I can still at least have a fun time.
Right.
But I have to say, like, my expectations were blown out of the water.
Yeah.
I think it was so, it just, because I was ready to pick it apart.
Yeah.
And they took such care of this musical. It just allowed me to live that like musical theater little nerd.
Yeah.
That live that magic again and be excited about how big this piece of musical theater is.
Yeah.
And just be like proud of it and be like, I'm a part of this.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think our listeners may be surprised how few notes we have for this. We are ready to criticize.
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
Yeah, that's the whole point of this podcast.
Yeah.
We're looking for the nitty-gritty real problems. And
don't worry, there are some critiques.
Yes, we have some, but
this is not
but it's just, this should be a reliable indication that it's quite good. That we are like, oh my God, I love that. Can we talk about...
We're bitches. Well, let's talk about the story lab.
Let's talk about the story lab.
Let's start there because that's where we started.
Yes, we'll start with the story lab.
So we're talking about adaptation.
Yeah.
And this is like a big problem. I mean, Wicked itself is already a stage show, which is an adaptation of a book, which was a spin-off adaptation of another book,
right?
Which is also a movie, which is also many
things.
other pieces of
media, I guess.
Story.
Yeah.
Pieces of. I can narrate.
There's a long heritage. There's a big history of Wizard of Oz and all the things that go behind it. It's got a lot of baggage.
Yes, which it has it has like a rich pool to pull from, but also a lot of traps it can fall into.
Right.
And I was, back in the day I remember watching the musical and being like, yeah, it's cute. And then like I found myself over the years growing my appreciation of the show, catching more and more little things that are like homages to the movie, like little hints and things to the book, but it's done so well that like you could miss all of them and it's still a fun time, it's still an interesting story, it's still a moving story.
Yeah.
Even on its own, even if we didn't have all of those little pieces, I already feel that with a musical.
Right.
And to take it from a book to a musical to then a movie is tricky.
Yeah.
Because like a musical to a movie is always going to be difficult.
Already hard.
And like the Story Lab was pointing out, you need to take specific things into consideration. You need to you actually need to change things.
Yeah.
As much as people want the stage show
to just be
film
like
format,
transplanted, it just doesn't work that way.
Just have the pro shot. Just have a pro shot of the actual stage show if that's what you want.
Yeah.
Because that's different. That's a different thing. And I'm happy to watch a pro shot.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Sure.
We just did that last night.
We did. Yeah. We did falsettos.
We just watched falsettos.
But it requires a deft hand in order to actually identify the things that need to change or can change to actually give honor to the story.
Yep. Yes. And to capture, it's a hard balance to capture that original audience as well as a film audience.
Yeah.
Because musicals are not universal.
Right. They're not film either.
Wicked, I would say, is about like one of the most universal musicals. Most people have at least heard about Wicked and have at least know the Wizard of Oz.
Right.
So there's at least pieces of it that it's not totally new. So it has that going for it already. Which also could set it up to fail and explode in big ways too.
Yeah.
But I think they did a great job at finding those moments of expansion that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
About using the medium where we can actually live in a character's emotion.
Yeah.
And give it the weight and the time that it deserves.
Yeah. I mean, we can commit to making it 2 films, which means, hey, we've got this much more time that we can spend looking at their faces.
Yeah.
We can spend telling a little bit more of their story, which, again, as you said, there's a lot of pitfalls you could fall into there. You can tell the wrong story. You can give too much. It comes to mind the new West Side Story where they're like giving all this backstory to Tony, and I'm like, why did we even need that? We didn't even need all that.
That new movie.
Yeah, and it's...
I always say I love West Side Story and liked the movie just fine, but like there were
it's a mistake.
There's
There's like
added things that I'm like, oh, I don't need
why
that.
is it like that? Where here it's the added bits were just it felt like they were things that were implied in the background of the musical. That all we did was bring them forward.
Right.
We just gave them a little bit more time.
Yes. Yeah, it just like took something and it goes like, yeah, that of course that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like something like Elphaba is raised by like her nanny is a bear.
Right. Yeah.
So it like ties into the storyline that like
you have
the
this like kind of
animals are
underclass
losing.
people.
Yes,
Yeah.
animals speak and are, citizens of this world alongside of humans, and they're getting pushed out.
Yeah.
And it really ties some extra care into Elphaba's character. She cares more about this fight, this effort, because she
has a personal connection.
But they don't make a big thing about it. It just
Right.
like is there.
Right. Yeah.
It's very, it's they do it really elegantly. I think they're not like,
She doesn't have some big tirade about like, I was raised by a bear. She
Right.
doesn't say that, thank God, because that would have been awful. But
no, but it's there and
it's
it
there.
makes sense.
yeah.
There's lots of great moments like that we are looking at, those expanded, like the backstory stuff. Like and it's not excessive because like that drives me crazy.
Right. I mean, all we need to see is Galinda interacting with her parents in that way where she's kind of the parent to understand what that dynamic is and to understand her role in the world. What is her role in contrast to everyone around her? And how does that, especially that's the beginning of the story, how does it speak to what her transformation is going to look like?
Yeah.
It's really elegantly done.
I honestly think the time in that scene where we're just like the getting to school, getting set up, getting like everything was clarified for me in a way that like things happen in the musical so fast.
So fast, yeah.
Which is great. Honestly, for a stage show, it's
In a stage
great.
show, and that's the
I
thing.
would
it's like,
never
you need
change
to clip.
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
It needs to clip in the stage.
On the stage, rain pace is the only pace.
Rain pace is the only pace, people.
And I believe that.
Yeah.
There are exceptions.
Yeah.
But
that rain pace allows you to give the room to the things that you need to give room to, because there's only like, you get one pause.
yeah.
You get one, and that's it.
Well, it's all about pauses. And you can do that live.
Sure,
it's just as much, and it has to be an intimate house. There's exceptions to every rule.
Of course.
But especially a big musical where you want to have a big house, rain pace,
You got to go fast. And
big, loud,
they do their best.
flashy, colorful.
Yeah. And it's like you get a similar conveyance of information in the stage play, because she comes in on her big stack of luggage pushed by the rest of the students. So you have that same kind of, she's the queen
shortcut.
bee. It's a shortcut to tell you all the things that we got to see in the movie.
Right.
And because we're watching the film, as I talked about in the Story Lab, we are seeing very close to reality. We get to see every detail of someone's face. We get to see every detail of someone's costumes, the set, and the set, like all the work that went into building that out is wild. And
I mean, the design on this movie is
to give us that kind of, the realism also means that we're going to need a little bit more information as an audience.
Yeah.
We are so visual and we are shown so many things in detail. We need to fill it in.
Yeah.
We need them to fill it in for us. We want that.
Right. Because we do see every facial expression and every interaction and every little thing, because like where the camera is pointing is where we're supposed to look.
Right.
When on stage, there are 100 things you could be looking at.
Right. And it's all these big motions. We're primed not to expect those small facial. Then they happen too. They can happen.
They do, absolutely.
But we're not relying on that to tell the story.
Because the story has to be told to the person in the back of the house.
Yeah. And so everybody in the house is also just filling in every gap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In the movie, we look at this moment. She gets rolled in on the luggage, and it's very quick that it's like, and Elphaba's there, and she's now rooming with
You mean
Linda.
in the musical?
In the musical.
Yeah,
so
in the musical. Yeah. In the musical, it's all very fast. Yeah.
It's all very fast, and it doesn't bother me. Like it like sets it up, and it doesn't linger.
Right.
It's like we don't have time for that. We don't have time to linger on exposition. Exposition, none. We don't want none in a. We want the least amount of exposition in a stage show as we can.
We want to know what they want.
We want to know what they're doing now.
Yeah.
Because we're in the room with them.
Yeah. It's very urgent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So them sitting there on stage talking about what happened before,
I don't care.
I'm not interested. I want to see them do it now. We can have flashbacks to do it, but that's clunky.
Yeah.
On stage. They do. In
They
fact,
actually
on
do
the
it.
stage show.
Yeah. A little bit during the intro. Yeah.
Yeah, they do it. They do it the same in the movie. But like in the movie, we see, I'm like, oh, it's really broken up. Elphaba's not going to school here.
Mm-hmm.
She has this event where her magic goes off.
Yeah.
And so the head of the sorcery department, Michelle Yeoh, who is awesome.
She's so cool.
She comes in and is like, I want you as a student. Who would like to volunteer to room with her? It's just like every little moment is like a little bit slower. We're paying attention to the words that they're saying.
Yeah.
We're paying attention to the interactions. And like, I just remember being like, oh, that makes sense. How we get from Elphaba's not going to school at all to now Elphaba
is
rooming
with Galinda.
With Glinda.
Yeah.
Galinda.
At the time, Galinda. Yeah.
Yeah. In a way that like I don't remember caring that much.
Yeah.
It's just like we're like, oh, there's something happened and we're rooming together.
Right.
That's kind of like,
Yeah, that's all that's important.
that's all that's important.
They were assigned. Nah. The end.
They are different. They're assigned together.
Yeah.
That's all we need to know.
Right.
But it's nice to like
We get to
the
see and
moment
breathe a
of-
little. We get to see a little bit of Glinda's ambitions. She wants so badly to be the sorceress. She wants,
Which again, we get little bits of
Yeah.
in the musical.
Yeah.
We do. These are, and
Yes.
that's the thing. None of these little moments are completely out of the musical.
Right.
We're just expanding on what's already there.
Right.
It's so much so that like, I like watched a video earlier that was talking about like how Ariana on set would be like, hey, you cut that line and you can't cut that line. Like that's canon. That's the show.
Wow.
You need to have like very specific lines, very specific moments.
Yeah.
She's like, you can't cut that. That is the thing.
Right.
And to have somebody there being that
Who
authority.
like loves the show so much.
Why does that not happen more?
I don't know. That makes me very happy because it's like that we need those minds to be like, you've missed something.
To have one of the leads be such a super fan, and I think Cynthia is also
I'm sure, yeah.
a super fan, not to the extent that Ariana's a super fan.
Probably, yeah.
Ariana's been trying to apparently been since 2013 has been calling the studio, been like,
If
what's
you're
the
doing-
news? What's
If
happening?
you're doing Wicked.
Has
Wow.
been like, and has wanted to be involved. I mean, met Kristen Chenoweth as a child,
Yeah.
and like is just been like that's one of her life's goals,
Wow.
and she kind of
She
helped
nailed
make
it.
it happen.
Yeah.
And it just is. I mean, like, let's talk about Ariana for just a second.
Sure.
And why? I mean, she's amazing. She's fucking.
She's so good.
I mean, it is.
Oh, man.
It is so clear that she is a musical theater person at heart.
And she loves this.
She loves this show. She loves that character.
Yeah.
She has been practicing her Glinda-isms for years, for decades, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You can tell based on the way she uses her voice in the show, based on
the
her
jokes she makes. I mean, she's like borrowing from. I mean, we've watched compilations of Glindas.
I mean, we
we're
come
those
from the
nerds.
generation
Yes,
of
we do.
musical theater.
That we just like watched people do different
majors.
versions of it.
We just were
Bootlegs.
on YouTube watching. We're like, who's your favorite alphabet?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
like
And now they're just in these
People-
like
we would,
long
like-
compilations, and
they
you
were like
can
trading
see.
cards. Like we
Yeah,
could have
yeah.
they could have made
Oh my God, they
made
could've.
wicked trading cards with like
Can you
the
imagine?
alphabas from the Broadway version. Musical theater gays would have bought them.
Oh yeah, what a missed opportunity! Wow, didn't even think of that. Huh?
Because
Feels too
people
much
are-
like baseball cards.
But we want to appropriate those things.
Yes, we do.
We want to take control.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would
But
have.
she did all these like Glinda-isms from a ton of different Glindas. So she's also watched those.
She absolutely has. For sure.
Yeah.
You can tell. I was like, ooh, that's a little Annalie Ashford. That's definitely Kristen Chenoweth. Yeah. I'd like to believe that one's Ali Mozzie because that's my favorite.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
She really paid the homage. And I love that. If I want to talk a little bit more about kind of like the honoring of the story and like how they did that.
well, yeah, because that's part of the difficulty with adaptation. You have to make those changes. You do.
Yeah.
But I feel like often those changes are made and we lose things that we love from
Yeah.
the original.
Right. And not just things that we love, but things that are vital. And so one, how
Yes.
awesome that, as you said, a lead is in the house that is able to be like, no, we actually can't do it. And to have a directorial team that can respect that too and be like, oh,
Yeah.
you're right, and let's do it. To really pay homage to that, to have a brilliantly reorchestrated score that is
Stunning.
as good and then more epic than the original recording of it with, Stephen Schwartz in the room,
I mean, let's talk about like the time expansion
Yeah.
in the music.
Yeah.
How smart they were.
So smart. Yeah.
I mean,
Dancing Through Life is a little bit longer. We get more dance time. We get more.
I think Dancing Through Life, if we're talking about expansion, we're talking about both time and medium.
Yeah.
Like that scene, I think is a perfect example of how to do it successfully.
Yeah.
Because it is it is the scene to take them from enemies to friends.
Yeah.
It is the scene.
Mm-hmm. And it's so long.
It's
Like
so,
on the
it's already
soundtrack,
long.
it's 10 minutes. The song originally was like 8 minutes-ish. On the soundtrack, it's about 10 minutes. It's much longer than that. Like that whole sequence
Well, I
is
think
like
it's longer in the stage
20
show
minutes.
too.
Yeah, it
There are
is. It
little
is.
like,
Yeah, they
cut
truncate a lot of it.
in the CD,
yeah,
in the
right.
the album.
Yeah.
But
it's so much of the
is
story,
so
and they do so well.
long. And they
let it breathe. The scene where Alphaba comes to the party in the embarrassing hat and does her weird little dance, and it's just.
it's
they really let us live in the awkward in a way that it doesn't happen on the stage play, and not by fault of the stage play.
No.
The same story is being told. It's excellent in the stage
It's
play.
still heartbreaking. It's still awkward, but we do not have the time.
We don't have the time. We don't have the time, and we don't have the resources. We can't see.
We can't
like
see
that.
their faces. We can't see
To
the
have
tiny interactions.
To have a
moments.
close-up of Cynthia Erivo, like,
just her
feeling
face.
so, like, defeated and betrayed when she realizes, when Galinda comes up to her and, like, confronts her after she's decided, oh, shit, I made a mistake. I have to, like, fix this. So she comes up and goes to, like, join her in this weird dance as everyone's laughing at her. And Cynthia is just like, she's not even, like, mad anymore. She's just like, you won. Look what you did. Like, this is, I am born open. Like, I am bleeding on the ground here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like so powerful. And they let it breathe. They give it so much time. And it's so,
I mean, it's beautiful
effective.
and painful.
Yes.
And hard. And they do it so, I mean, everyone in the scene is like.
And especially in contrast to, like, the really high tempo and energy of, like, the rest of Dancing Through Life. It's like this very exciting dance number. And and to have all of this activity happen, and then just to have this little interlude of just, like, it's still. It's so much stillness and slowness. It's very, very powerful. And it pays homage to that story so well.
Yeah.
Oh, it's good.
It's really good.
I also love how many gays were in it.
Yeah.
It's like it's like Fierro is just, like, flirting with everyone because of course he would.
Of course he would.
But it's like, they know who their fans are. You know, like, who made Wicked huge?
Like we were saying,
Gays.
who would have bought the Wicked playing cards?
It would have been the gay musical theater boys.
Buzz.
Yes. And it was so, and it wasn't just like, it wasn't like the Star Wars kiss that was just like, there's lesbians in that Star Wars movie where they just, like, kiss at the end of that movie. And I was like, that's freaking weird. Why?
I mean, they put Bo and Yang in, and they were like, be gay.
Be gay. And then there's just, like, others sometimes.
Yeah.
It was really nice to see that.
They don't even have to have a gay plot line.
No.
For you to show that, like, gay people exist in the world.
Right.
It's weird finally seeing it in a way that it's like, you didn't just throw them in the background somewhere.
Right. Yeah.
Or say,
or it's
well,
like,
that
look
one
at the token.
Gay.
Yeah. Yeah. Post hoc. Oh, yeah, they were gay the whole time.
Yeah.
But it's also, it strikes me too, just thinking about every cast of Wicked that there's ever been. It's just full of gays.
Yes.
So it's like, the movie should be full of gays. Duh.
Yeah.
Of course. Like, why not?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, not to mention that, like, Wizard of Oz,
Dorothy,
Judy Garland. Like, there's a long
Stonewall. There's a long history
of the connection of Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And
the boy from Oz.
Queerness. The boy from Oz.
Boy from Oz.
Like, this is, I mean, it's like,
it's steeped in gay culture.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Or gay culture is steeped in Wizard of Oz, perhaps.
Maybe.
But it's like,
maybe both. Why not? I mean, certainly a lot of,
It's another thing, the choreography is very, very cool. And we were pointing out as we were watching the last night, maybe we were watching Loathing, which is, like, so fun. I'm like, I love it. It's like, it's going to be every song. I'll be like, I loved it. I loved Loathing. But the choreography pays homage to all the different iterations of Wicked itself, or of Wizard of Oz. So it's like you have this little movement that they do that looks very much like the beginning of Follow the Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah.
From the Judy Garland movie.
The side skip.
The side skip, and it's like the way it's entwined in the choreography is so cool, and it looks so good.
They're really, I mean, what a masterclass in adding elements that pay homage to many different, like to the stage show itself, to the original, to the movie,
to the Wiz. There's like a Wiz moment. It's just weirdly, it's like the cast of black people are just dancing together right now. But I wouldn't be surprised too if it was inspired choreography from the Wiz.
Right. During One Short Day.
During One Short Day, yeah. And then the weird One Short Day armless weird things. It's like One Short Day, the Wizomania part of One Short Day.
Puppet dancers.
These weird dancer puppets that have no arms.
They're like egg-shaped
people. That was like, it's a feature.
Iconic. It's like
an iconic feature of the stage musical Wicked. And they had them in One Short Day. Okay.
Speaking of One Short Day, another moment that was expanded.
Yes.
This one included a history of the wizard.
Yeah, it's a little morality play. Yeah.
Which, like, technically, in One Short Day on the stage, that's what they're watching. They're watching some sort of, it's Wizomania. It's a festival about the Wiz, and they're watching some performance.
Yeah. We just don't get to see.
We don't know what it is.
The whole thing, right.
Really. We just see, like, the dances. But, like, so to expand that and actually give us the morality play, and they use that as an opportunity to bring in Adina and Kristen.
Yes.
For their little cameo moments, which of course they would.
Yeah.
Of course, they also know that they're coming into this with like a huge fan base.
Yes, they are. Yeah. That people are going to love that.
Yes.
And I kind of did.
I will say it is a moment that
it's not necessary.
They didn't need it. They could have cut it. I'm not sure that it added much to the story.
It does explain the Grimoire a little. That's like the only thing that it, like story-wise.
Sure.
It does give us a little bit. It's nice to see the origins of the wizard in that moment.
Yeah.
That is actually really nice. Whether we needed Kristen and Idina to tell us that story, probably not.
Well, definitely not. But like, it's nice to have, like, I think it was smart of them to give them a cameo generally. Mm-hmm. But like, you know, sometimes, like in The Little Mermaid, when the cameo for, what's her face? Jodie Benson.
Jodie Benson.
Jodie Benson's cameo
the goddess.
Is so short.
Yeah.
She just like hands her a fork.
Yeah. And it's so nice to be like,
sweet.
Jodie Benson's in it.
But then it's fleeting and it's gone.
Yeah.
It's just like nice to like get a little bit of time with them. Mm-hmm. They get to sing. They get to have like an actual little feature.
Yeah. They get to like talk to their counterparts.
Yes.
In the scene. It's like, oh my God.
It does feel like that one may be, it's the most pandery moment of the movie.
Yes.
In a way that, of course, I'm a fan, and I'm like, it didn't bother me.
Yeah, it didn't bother me.
But I guess like my point is, I would accept that as a criticism from someone else.
Yes. Yeah.
While I don't find it to be a criticism, because it's one of those things that I think it's, if you like it, it doesn't have to serve the story.
Yeah, kind of.
Because there's lots of things that just like,
I just like it.
Happen like that. There's like a weird little thing. You're like, I kind of like it. I mean,
Fifth Element, Plava Laguna. She sings that song, and you don't need it. Like, no, but I like it. But I like it. I like it.
You cut a lot of things from a lot of movies, but like part of it's like the world. You're building the world, and it does feel like that's part of what you're doing right there. And you know, something we can't necessarily do in a stage show is like kind of live in these moments.
Right.
And
you have to be very economical about those things. Again, because of the manpower problem. You only have so many people on the stage. They only have so much energy to be able to actually convey that live to you. Yes. And for you live to be able to absorb it, it's a lot of challenges. So you have to really pare it down.
So we talked a lot about it being an adaptation, obviously.
Yep.
And how successful it was in adapting
Yeah.
the musical to the movie.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that more, I'm sure.
Probably.
There's so much. I guess I'm curious what you think about it, just like as a standalone story movie, especially since it's just Act 1.
Yeah. I think that it struck me watching it, now that I've seen it 2 times, it struck me how complete a story that first act is.
Yeah.
That it really, in a way that like Dune split into 2 parts didn't make any sense to me because there was like it ended with a whimper, right? It just like, I was like, I'm not sure what the climax is here. I don't get it. And we needed part 2 to kind of continue. Here, you get through Defying Gravity and she's like become this other thing. If we stopped here, we could move on. You know, we don't have to see the rest of it and we still have a complete story.
Yes.
We still have, that's how she became the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah.
You know?
It's an origin story.
Yeah. We don't have to see her die, which we just see the origin part.
Right.
Part 2 is going to show us, you know, Act 2, where she's actually, you know, leading this war against the wizard.
Right.
But to see it split up like that and given the space, again, the space that we're able to give it because of the change in medium, we actually are able to truly make that first act a complete arc of its own.
Well, and I would say, like, generally musical theater is kind of because most musical theater are in 2 acts and meant to really end Act 1 with a bang.
Yeah.
They really give a climactic moment to end Act 1. Generally, that's usually what's happening. That musical theater is not it's not crazy for me to think that an adaptation from a stage show, a stage musical that is already in 2 acts with a strong Act 1 finale, that's already primed to be 2 different stories.
To be 2 different stories.
And this one really is.
Yeah.
Act 1 and Act 2 are kind of different stories.
Yeah.
We're about to like jump time. We're about to be telling a different story.
Everybody's status starts in a different place at the beginning of Act 2. We're really in a different place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is one complete arc of a story, but it's like a series. It's a you know, a duology, right?
Yeah.
We get to see 2 stories happen.
Right. Right.
That are related. But so as a film itself, I think it's very successful in telling a story.
I think
it tells kind of this. It's telling this worldview story. I think where it's like we're having this kind of disillusionment of the world. It's like that innocence lost, and then of everybody's innocence. Right? It's like we've got Galinda's innocence gets lost, and she makes this choice to stay. Elphaba's innocence is lost. She makes the choice to separate and rebel. We see, you know, even from her origins, all the innocence that's lost. We have Nessa Rose's innocence too with Bach. I could go on, but we also have what I'm going to call a love story in there, but it's a love story between Elphaba and Glinda, and not in the romantic love story. I'm not saying they're lesbians.
Although
nothing wrong with that,
but like that is.
That's speculation.
What is that?
Speculation?
No, what were you doing?
I don't know.
What are you?
I don't know. Comment what I was doing in the comments. What do you? What is it?
What? I just like that's. I don't know. You're silly. I just like that's like a common fan theory.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what I was.
That's what.
Yeah. Well, at any rate, the point is that it's there. Kind of a love story doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. It is about the 2 entities coming together.
Certainly, I mean, certainly, this movie is about their relationship.
It's a tragic love story because it's, you know, they meet, they hate each other, they come together, they, you know, fall in love for all intents and purposes, but then at the end they do separate. Because it comes in conflict.
They choose to go on their own paths.
Yeah. It's Annie Hall. So I think it's really successful because Act 2 is going to be different than that. It's not going to be that love story, or it's more of a success failure. Everybody's worldview has already been established. So I think in Act 2 we're going to see a different set of stories play out.
You know what Act 2 is.
Yeah, but we'll see how they treat it. It just
Sure.
was very clear. I guess that's part of like, there are things in the film that were clarified that are not so clear in the stage play. And not that it's not clear, it's just because we get the time with it, because we have the realism of it, like the severity of a lot of the issues, like the animals being subjugated. We see more of the animals. We see them actually look like animals. It's not just like one man dressed as a goat on stage that is a little bit unserious.
Yeah.
We see the police come to take the goat away and they just grab him by his horns. It's like, it's really jarring. It's like really upsetting to
really
watch
upsetting.
when Dr. Dillerman gets taken away, because we get to see it close up.
Yeah.
When we see,
It's like it is realism. It feels really intense.
real. It's to see the monkeys turn into like get the wings. It's like really upsetting to see Elphaba realize, you know, the hurt that Glinda's done to her, to realize the wizard's not real, to see Madame Morrible be so mean to Glinda. And then at the end, turn around and give her that hug.
It's funny because she's like, she's not like, I'm being mean to you. Like, this is not like,
no.
She's just like,
so
I just
dismissive.
don't have any, I just don't care about you at all.
Yeah. It's it's apathy. It's like worse than hate. She does not care about Glinda at all.
Yeah. She can say straight to her face, like, no, I don't think you have anything special about you.
Yeah.
I'm doing this because she has something special about her, and I'm not going to lose her. So absolutely.
Yeah. And how
it's just so, it is so mean, but without her being mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so good.
Oh, it's really great. And in the stage play, it's kind of played for laughs a lot, or it ends up being funny.
Yes.
And by design, like you kind of have to a little bit in this world and in the aesthetic. Here you actually get to see, it's like, oh my God, that's what they were doing the whole time. You know, it's like that's what it feels like. It feels like we get to see how serious even the musical was without having to do a lot of the extra legwork.
Yeah. Yeah.
In our minds to be like, imagine, you know, animals being subjugated. Now you actually see them talk, and to imagine that little baby lion in the cage that is terrified. And then he says, well, the benefit of having them in this cage is that in all likelihood, they'll probably never learn to talk.
No,
that's
like
horrible.
Yeah. You're like, but he would learn to talk otherwise?
Right.
Like horrifying.
That's horrifying. Ugh.
It's so gross.
And it's like it gives a weight and gravitas to the story that I really appreciate.
Which it's funny because like that storyline does do that for the musical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
it's there
much different, and it does feel really serious.
Yeah.
Those moments are a little scary, and they're a little like the music is more intense in the musical during those moments.
Yeah.
I noticed like they really played down that like the serious music in the movie, weirdly.
Yeah.
Like it's not as big.
Right.
It's not like, it's like a little bit more insidious.
It's like, it's a current underneath everything.
Yeah.
It's
not like, oh no, this big scary thing is happening, loud music. Like, it's not, it allows you to get there yourself. It doesn't have to do the shortcuts.
Right.
It doesn't have to be telling you like, this is a scary moment. because it
it's just scary. Yeah.
Which I think is very interesting.
Yeah. So
Speaking of the animal subplot,
oh sure.
something I want to bring up is there's this wild review.
I was just going to say the BBC review.
I don't care that much about reviews generally. I don't read a lot of them. And especially one with like a clickbaity
We're a review podcast.
I know. I'm not reading a lot of reviews. And stuff I like if I just want to, But no, I tend to, I also want to feel like I don't read reviews before I go to see things.
Yeah.
I
feel
don't
like I'm making my own opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't like coming in with like a lens.
Yeah.
I already am. I have my own lenses that are up and ready.
Yeah.
Obviously. But I saw this one after because and the title was so clickbaity that I like couldn't help it.
Yeah.
But everyone I've talked to,
It panned it.
what?
The review panned it. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was in the middle of another
Oh, go on.
sentence.
Go on.
Yes, the review panned it, but everyone I've talked to has liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard like one person that has said something like, I feel like they use too much CGI and like film wise they could have done other things. And I this is before I saw it, so I didn't ask for details. I didn't want to know anything. And I think that person's just generally wrong about it. Because I think technically it's pretty good.
Yeah, most of the stuff is not, in fact, CGI.
A lot of stuff is not CGI. There's obviously things that are CGI.
Obviously, yeah. That can't have flying monkeys. Probably can't have monkeys at all on the set.
Sure.
Yeah.
But it's not people in costumes.
Right.
Like the stage show.
Sure.
If that's what they were hoping for.
Yeah.
Which, odd. But I was just so surprised by the title. I just want to talk about it. I just want to...
let's talk about this review.
So I'm going to bring it up because I literally want to read sections of it, and I want to... Because it is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It is really, really crazy. The review starts... this drawn-out and self-important film proves the musical didn't need to be split into two parts.
Okay.
So, okay. He's already calling it drawn out and self-important and is mad that it's split into two parts.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about it being split into two parts and why we think that it is...
why that works, why that's a smart move.
Why it's working, and why it's justified at the very least.
Yeah.
I can understand people going into something like this. It sounds like there are a bunch of people that I've talked to that they're like, I didn't know it was two parts.
Yeah.
I'm like, how did you not know?
I did not know. I knew that.
But like, that's always going to be the case.
Yes, if you're not following the thing.
And there's a big trend of things being split into two, and I could see people being exhausted by this trend.
Sure.
Generally, I get that. And as a general criticism about movies being split into two.
Sure.
That's fine. That's an okay, like, perspective to have. I just don't like this convention where we're splitting movies into two.
Sure.
It's too common now. We're throwing it willy-nilly. Fine.
Yeah.
It's a cash grab. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to get money for two different movies.
Yeah. Sure.
Duh.
Yeah.
Fine. I'm not mad at that.
Mm-hmm.
We're all trying to make a buck. As long as it is done well.
Right. Yeah.
There are many times that it's not. So I understand.
But I understand that as a criticism.
I understand that as a criticism. So I'm not like...
It's a matter of taste in that sense.
I just think like part of it is he's so stuck on it. The guy's name is Nicholas Barber.
Nicholas Barber.
For the BBC.
BBC.
For the BBC. I was very surprised. But
there's a lot of things surprising in there. We'll get there.
Whatever the filmmaker's reasons, we're talking about it being into two parts. You can't help resenting their arrogance. already has a very strong opinion. The implication is their narrative is so profound that it demands a full 5 hours of screen time, and Wicked won't convince everyone that that's the case. Okay, sure. But that's just like a nothing sentence.
Yeah, it doesn't mean
no movie is gonna be universally loved. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Fine, great, but like, yeah, he's just mad that it's two parts.
He's mad that it's 2 parts. Okay.
And I'm like, okay, looking for real criticisms. So begins a tale that is best described as Harry Potter meets Mean Girls. Which I think he's trying to say that's a negative.
I know. That sounds awesome to me. So
that's great. At the off-puttingly named Shiz University. Sure, that's just what
it's called.
University was called in the book. Yes, great. It charts the relationship of the put-upon Alphaba, played by Cynthia Erivo, and the confident Galinda, played by Ariana Grande Butera, i.e., the pop star known as Ariana Grande, but credited on screen with her full name.
He's mad about that?
He's mad about it. Like, that's
weird.
And maybe he's not. Maybe he's just commenting on it. But the tone he's set already is like...
Makes it sound like he's like...
did you see? She wants to use her full name. La-di-da. Like, that's what it feels like. He's mad at all of these things. Like he does that with Madame Morrible, too. He says, with sorcery teacher Madame Morrible, in parentheses, Michelle Yeoh, who is no singer...
What an asshole.
What an asshole.
God.
Yeah.
And she does fine. And also that role is never played by a singer.
No, it's usually a cameo.
Just a cameo.
It's usually
it was Carol Kane. It was...
Rue McClanahan.
Yes.
Come on. And I'm sure they did great. And yes.
And she's
great
awesome
singers have
in
done
the
it.
Film anyway. Like the way she has such control of her body.
Michelle
she looks
Yeoh
so elegant.
Is so good.
She's so good.
Yes, again, if you're just kind of like mad about them casting non-singers in musicals, in movies, I get it.
Sure, fine.
I've been mad about that for years.
Yeah.
I get it. But like, as long as they do it, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, and she does.
And she does. She absolutely sells it for me.
Yeah.
He goes on to talk about how the 2 leads are cast. He said the leads are cast well. Erivo is disarmingly sweet and vulnerable while retaining a hint of latent menace, and Grande Putera, who can hit notes so high that only dogs can hear them, is amusing as a blithely perky narcissist. So he clearly...
He gets it.
He thinks they're doing well.
Yeah.
And honestly, their relationship is the full story.
That is the story.
So, I don't know. That sounds like a pretty good... Like... I don't know. It's like weird that he's like,
what's the title of the article?
I told you. That's this drawn out and self-important film proves this musical didn't need to be split into 2 parts.
Oh my God, that's just the title? Oh my God. That's such a long title. Oh, ew. I just thought that was like the first line of the article.
No, that's the title.
Oh my God.
That's how it's...
Oh, geez.
That's how clickbaity it is.
Yeah.
And... You know, you think about it, it's like drawn out and self-important. Those are the 2 verbs or adjectives that he's using.
Yeah.
And drawn out, it's longer.
Yeah.
And we just described why that's important.
Yeah.
When moving things over.
Sure.
To a film.
Yeah. Why it could
be.
So
to totally discount the drawing out the story.
Yeah.
And then self-important, it's like, yeah, they believe that the message is important.
Yeah. Well, doesn't he talk about the message in there?
Well, so one thing that drove me insane is he talks about the questions that the film answers. Now, as a story expert, stories have like big overarching themes and questions that they're maybe not looking to answer in words, but like to evoke in us.
Yeah.
What give me 1 or 2 of those big picture questions?
Sure. When do we conform and when do we separate ourselves? Like between conformity and nonconformity.
Yeah.
That's like a big theme.
Simple, big picture. If we want to talk about like them specifically, like what morals do these characters have, and when do they have to?
Yeah.
When do they go with them and give them up for the like? If we're talking about like very specific, like
I mean, and that's like big
picture,
that's really big picture. And then we have even something a little bit smaller picture, just like what happens when you treat people who are different than you badly.
Yeah. Or how should we treat
How
people
should we
who are
treat
different?
people? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Some
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
easy
Big
questions that it's asking and answering.
Sure.
The questions, this is how I knew this was like a bad faith review. Is his questions that he comes up with are, he says, the questions the film answers aren't exactly urgent. Why does Elphaba wear a pointy hat? Why did Galinda change her name to Glinda? How can the flying monkeys fly? Why is the yellow brick road yellow? These aren't the most vital issues in the world.
Boo.
Yeah, but those are not the
That's
only
not the questions.
They're, first of all, they're questions that get answered in the movie weirdly and cutely, and I like all of the ways that we get to see those things. But those are not the important questions that the film...
he knows that.
He has to.
He in the review he talks about like the theme about treating people who look different is so obvious.
And then he goes on to say it's not actually not exactly subtle that this is one of the themes.
It's not exactly subtle about the theme. And then he's like, well, it actually answers these questions. And I was like, you just said that other thing that is a huge theme and a big question that it's talking about, it's trying to answer, is overt. Like,
and then
what are you
he goes
talking
on
about?
To say that, because he's also like, this is too long and it should have been one movie, because that's his big thing, I think, is like, you really could have done it if you cut out these totally unnecessary subplots. First of all, these are subplots that exist in the musical.
Yeah, first of all.
The stage show. And he's like, you can cut out the weird subplot about the animals and cut out everything about her sister.
That's like,
and
what?
Like, you mean the people that are most ostracized in this society? The people who are the most different?
Oh my God.
The people that Elphaba is fighting for?
Oh.
You want to cut those out? You clearly don't understand what the questions that the film is asking if you think that those are unimportant subplots.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is wild
I
to me.
think he just doesn't like Wicked. I think he just like doesn't like the story, or cares so little about the story that he's okay creating a clickbaity
thing.
article that people are going to rage about because, you know, he'll get the clicks.
Oh,
and he's like, I don't care about Wicked. It's fine. I can take a hit on this one. Because it's so stupid. That's stupid. What are you reviewing for? You don't know how to review anything.
That's dumb. It's dumb.
That's dumb.
He's dumb.
Yeah.
He's a bad reviewer.
Awful.
And I have opinions. So if you ever don't, just take every review with a grain of salt, even ours.
Yeah.
We can't help our own biases.
No.
If you like something that we don't like it still.
Do it, please. I will try to convince you otherwise, but go for it.
We have a very specific lens that we look at things.
Yeah.
And even in this case, our history, just as musical theater people, our history, I mean, like, I try to, on top of just like going in and enjoying something, try to apply this very technical lens over the top, like what they're doing and how successful it was. That's why we have a 3-part rating system.
Right.
But you can't, I don't know. He gets like caught up in different things, and it doesn't feel like he's like landing on real, actual
None
rhythms.
of it feels real. It feels very bad faith. And then he gives it 3 stars.
And then he gives it 3 stars out of 5.
Which is like not terrible.
It's not terrible.
It's so weird. He's confused. Or dumb. Or I don't know.
And then he ends it saying something like, you know, I think it'll be better once the second movie's out. And I'm like,
you're just
what?
mad about this being 2 movies, man. That's so weird.
Are you really that butthurt that they split it into 2 movies?
Ugh.
That's fine. Then just wait to see it as one movie.
Yeah. And or just like really hammer that home. Say, I don't love that it's 2 movies. I don't like that trend, blah, 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 blah. As its own film,
Give me some good faith.
yeah.
These are the things that I think were successful. And he sort of does it, but in a way that's like, I guess this was there, and I guess that was there.
Well, even do the work that we've done. Think a little bit about why maybe they expanded it.
Yes.
You don't have to necessarily agree.
You don't have to agree.
You don't have to like it, but they didn't just do it because, like...
Even if their main motivation was to make more money.
Yeah.
I'd give him that.
It's still fine, but it's still successful.
I think they do it respectfully of the story.
Yeah.
In a way that, like, I don't think it's just from my biased point of view that I like the world and I want to live in it a little bit more.
I was ready to tear it apart.
I'm ready always
Yeah.
to tear things apart.
Yeah.
And, in fact, now that we've talked about this negative review and how bad that negative review is,
Yes.
because it doesn't even hit my actual criticisms.
Yeah.
I think it may have mentioned the weird cameo
Oh, yeah. It
and
might
how
have.
long that was.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't even remember, because I don't care. I don't care about that review.
Yeah.
Unimportant,
Boo.
bad. Look at it if you want to laugh, but like, and get a little angry. Like,
Yeah.
I just read it and I was like,
Infuriating.
I think this is wrong.
Yeah, it's just wrong.
It made me, and because every criticism that he was bringing up, I was like, I think I just disagree with you.
Yeah, it's just like you're wrong about that.
And usually when people are like, well, I don't like it, because if someone's like, honestly, like, it was really distracting that it was like split into 2 and I just couldn't get over it, I'd be like, okay.
Oh, okay.
Like, if someone was telling me that in real life, that's, I'm not going to say like, don't be mad about that, because I get it.
Yeah.
Do I agree? No, I don't. I think it's a pretty solid story.
Yeah.
Just the act 1.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we do it in the theater. We leave and come back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like 15 minutes, but like, we do take a break.
Right. Yeah.
Because both of those things can stand alone.
Yeah.
And they do.
Right. It stands alone as a unit.
But I want to transition into criticisms because,
Sure.
like, let's be fair.
Yeah.
Let's show people that, like, you can mostly like or mostly dislike.
And still
I think, like, generally when you watch a story, most of the time you're going to walk out being like, I like it, I don't, or like, Like, you can have like an feeling about it.
Sure.
But like, generally you're going to be stronger in one direction. And just because we're strong in the, like, we think it's really good and I like it a lot, doesn't mean I don't have good,
something that can
honest
change a little.
criticisms.
Yeah.
And
So give me one.
okay, the biggest thing I've seen, my biggest problem with current movie musicals,
Mm-hmm.
and this might be a personal taste thing, is that they seem to be afraid of having a camera still, watching a person standing there and singing without anything happening.
Yeah.
When, like, we see that in theater all the time. It's so moving.
Park and bark.
And why not in a medium where you can have a close-up on their face?
Yeah.
Why can't I see their emotions while they're singing a song?
Yeah. We have to have them skipping on stones or climbing buildings or...
I think they made some really cool choices.
Yeah.
Like,
and this is not
take
the worst.
The Wizard
at doing
and
that.
I.
Yeah.
No, it's not. There are better moments, but like they do have that problem. Like, every moment feels like they needed to fill it.
Yeah.
Divine Gravity had some good still moments, but even then they chopped that up.
They really
real
did.
good.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved what they did with Divine Gravity.
Yeah.
But they did. They like,
Yeah. I could have kept her from flying, being chased by the monkeys while singing. I would rather
yes, I
her
don't need
just
that.
be there, like in the musical where she just like flies up into the air and
That's
she's
all it is. She's
up
just
there.
up there. She doesn't move.
No.
She's in one spot.
And that would
She's
have been
flying.
Yeah.
But like, that's not like, yes, that is a spectacle and it's moving, but it's moving because she's still.
Yes.
And I think we lose
some
stillness.
of that momentum.
I don't.
We get a ton of stillness outside of music.
Yeah, they do some really great still moments where we're like looking at their face.
Yeah.
But like, even Wizard and I think like Wizard and I actually, they have a moment where she's just running.
Yeah.
And so the shot is kind of the same.
Yeah.
Even though she's moving,
Yeah.
we're kind of still at like one image
One
of her,
angle, yeah.
which I think is a good way for a film if they're so afraid.
Yeah, if you really want to have movement, that's not a bad way to do it.
Yeah, I don't mind it in that we're still getting her face, her feelings.
Yeah.
You're moving, but like the image isn't moving,
Right.
which I think is interesting because like that's kind of what happens sometimes on stage. We're pretending that things are happening in songs.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I get it that we can do a little bit more during songs generally, but I do miss moments of like, I love to see an actor just still singing something and feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite things as a musical theater fan.
Yeah.
And movies are very afraid of it.
Yes. Yeah.
And I don't, this movie is no exception.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, I think I agree with you.
That is probably my biggest criticism.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, I don't think they do the songs badly.
Yeah.
I just would have liked one or two moments of like, this person is singing, and for this whole 2 minutes, give me a minute, give me 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Where we see them in one shot.
Yeah.
And just standing there and singing.
Yeah. This can be very powerful.
Yeah. Well, what about you? What criticisms do you have?
I think my biggest one, and I really only noticed it, I think, the second time, and there are a lot of like ad libs that happen.
Okay.
Just kind of like improvised lines, Bo and Yang and others. And I think they're very funny.
Yeah.
I think they do work in general, but there are kind of modernisms, colloquialisms that don't match up with kind of the language of Oz that they kind of like set up in the script. They're not speaking Aussie in. They're speaking kind of 2024.
It's a little anachronistic.
It's a little bit anachronistic. It's a really small note because, again, I think it's very funny
it's also
and it works.
Magical place. Like I'll forgive a lot of it.
I'm not mad about it per se, but that is one thing that I'm like, that is actually that I noticed.
I
some
don't know
isms.
if yes, and
Sure.
I don't know if any of it felt like it was pulling out of the world.
Yeah.
It more so like pulled
us
strings
in
of
to
the
the world. Yeah.
But I can see how that could pull somebody out.
Yeah.
One, if you were a super fan of the musical, knowing that like that's not a thing, or
Yeah.
you could, or just like generally like it does feel like the tone is a little bit different, but like I think they do try to inject a reality into it.
Yeah.
Like I even saw some video that there were some criticism around the color of the movie, and how it is not ultra saturated.
Yeah.
Like the Wizard of Oz is. And that the director's like, the Wizard of Oz goes from black and white to her dream world,
Right.
this fictional dream world that is in Technicolor.
Right.
It is meant to be unreal.
Yeah. It's realer than real.
It is. And so we saturate it so that we feel like this is a real world that we can be pulled into.
Yeah.
We desaturate? What did I say?
You said saturate, but yeah,
I meant
we don't do it.
desaturate.
So because it needs to be a little bit, it can be vibrant, but it's not.
And I think it's plenty vibrant.
It is.
I think there's colors everywhere. It feels magical still.
Yeah.
But I had no problem with the
No.
color. And I think they are intentionally doing things
To bring us in.
to bring us in.
Yeah, and even though it's my criticism, it's really just that I noticed it the second time around.
Yeah.
And it didn't like pull me out, but it just, I noticed some
Yeah.
things that were like, that's very 2024 to say that.
Sure.
I can't even, like Ariana said that about the little balloon.
Can't.
I can't even. And I'm like, that's
Oh, no, she just says, I cannot.
I cannot. Yeah,
I think that's what she says.
and that's such a. It is so
It is very contemporary.
contemporary to say it that way, but
Yes.
I think that's probably my biggest. Maybe Peter Dinklage's accent.
Well,
I don't think he's very good at the British
can't
accent.
believe they've made him do that.
He's not British. He doesn't have to do a British accent. He could have just
That character
done
did not have to be British.
No, he could have just used his own voice. But he keeps doing that. That seems to be his like thing. He even did it in that new Hunger Games movie. I was like, why are you speaking in an accent? You don't have to speak in an accent.
Maybe people just want it.
Maybe he just comes in and does it, and they're like, I guess that's what's happening.
Ooh. Ooh. Yes, that does take me out. Oh, every time he's ever done it.
I know. I'm like, this is
Like, you're good. And
you're a
your
good
accent's
actor, and your
distracting.
accent's very bad.
Yeah. It's consistent enough that like it's not that like it's not that egregious. It just like, and he's a good enough actor that like it's fine. It's all fine.
Yeah.
I just like wish he didn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish it was just normal voice.
This is great. My only other.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so tiny. This is
Yeah,
so nitpicky.
Mm-hmm.
Is I just want Cynthia and Ariana almost sound too pretty together. Their voices blend almost too well.
Yeah.
And there are so many good moments of tension where they're singing together
Yeah.
where I think they could have intentionally added more vocal tension
Yeah.
in terms of the color that each of them
Stop
are bringing.
blending so much in this part because you're not blending. I mean, it's like, what is this feeling? Is like,
What is this feeling? I mean, everything sounds
It sounds
amazing.
really good. They sound very good together. They blend
incredible
so
together.
beautifully together, and it almost is a disservice to that song. Like it's like not that it's bad, even, and not that it distracted. Even it was just like you could be a little uglier here. You actually could sing a little uglier here.
That's like something that I wish Ariana especially could have done a little bit more.
Yeah.
Is like go uglier in terms of her voice.
Mm-hmm.
In a way that like Kristen Chenoweth certainly did.
Yeah.
And uglier not in like a bad way.
Right. Yeah. Just give us like less refinement. Like we can.
Just more variation in the color and the tone.
We don't need choral blending.
No.
We can have individuals here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like throw in something that is intentionally different than your partner.
Yeah.
To butt up against each other a little bit more vocally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that
there's like a perfection in Ariana's voice and what she likes to do.
Yeah.
That serves the character 95% of the time.
Right.
That I think like a couple of these moments of like tension dropped in would have really upped it for me.
Yeah.
I mean, but this
I mean,
is like one of those
so
criticisms where it's like, oh my god, they
sound too good.
It's like it's that question that you get asked in an interview, like, what is your flaw? And you're like, I sing too beautifully. We sing too beautifully together. Like that's the flaw.
I don't know how to sing ugly.
Yes,
yeah,
that's how it feels.
Yeah,
but if that's the only flaw, like there's again very minimal nitpicky things.
Yeah.
And while I liked the cameos,
not necessary.
That's fine.
They ended up being hilarious.
I loved it. I don't think they should be pulled, but I think they could.
They could have been, yeah. But I liked it. Let's rate it.
Let's do it. Get on to the ratings.
Story. 5.
Yeah, 5.
I have to give it a 5. Okay. I think I have to give it a 5. I think it's really good.
I like
the story's excellent.
It's good. It's 5. It's just like it tells the story well.
Yeah.
It does the adaptation of the story into telling the same story but also different.
Yeah, it does it really well.
And keeping it one movie. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think, and to temper us a little bit, I think the thing that I'm more worried about is whether part 2 will be a complete story on its own.
Ah, okay.
You know,
will we care? Well,
might
we
not.
care.
I'm not sure.
Probably not.
I don't know. But that would be curious, just to be like,
in terms of enjoying it.
yeah,
Whether
is
or
this
not
a
we can.
sequel or is it just like more of the movie? You know, it's like
Yes.
that difference. It's really subtle, but I think in this, it gets 5 from me.
Yeah. It's like I don't think Kill Bill 1 stands alone. I don't think so at all. I don't think it's a complete story
It's not.
in terms of a story.
Yeah, no, it's not.
This is not that.
This is not that. Same with Dune. Not a complete story.
Yeah.
Almost like part 2 is the complete story.
Almost,
Part
yeah.
2 is like better than part 1.
Yeah.
Except for
I
like
think
the really very beginning of part 1.
We
I
did
thought
a
was
whole
interesting.
episode about
Yeah,
it.
anyway. Technical. 5.
I'm going to give it a 5.
It sounds
think
so good. The dancing is so good. The set is so good. The costumes.
Let's talk about the costumes. They were good. No, they were so perfect. Like, I mean, clearly,
Oh my God.
like crafts people working hours and hours and hours.
Yep.
Wig design, perfect, amazing, beautiful.
Yep.
Like the design team, they planted fields and fields of tulips.
Yeah.
They built sets from scratch from the ground up.
It felt like homages to the stage play because the stage play is like famously has like the costumes from the Broadway show are like wild. And you would
They're
never
so
see
good.
from so
Like
far back, but when you see up close,
I remember
they're
like learning about
so
like the alphabet
gorgeous.
dress and how it's like
There's purples in
it's like
it
not
and-
black. Like you
Yeah.
look up close and it's like multicolored. Like it's many colors, but it's so dark. It looks black. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and it's like it
It's
felt
stunning.
like this homage to what was happening on the stage,
Yes.
in the stage play, and every outfit was like a little bit different, but in the same world, and like Fiero's pants and all his different shirts and jackets and all of
He's because he's kind of an outsider. There's like a lot of like the Shiz University. Like he has differentiating things.
Yeah.
For him, it like Nessa's costumes completely different than anyone's.
yes,
Beautiful,
but like
gorgeous,
somehow
and
like matches a little bit with Bach and with
with Elphaba.
Elphaba. They're
Yeah.
Munchkins. They're all Munchkins.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's
They're all
like
from Munchkin
they're all
land,
from
yeah.
Munchkin land, and then every one of Glinda's different like nightgowns, like every one of them is like beautiful, like this elegant, beautiful, flouncy,
So
sheer.
stunning.
Oh my God!
It's beautiful.
Yeah,
Like to not have the pink be tacky in any
Yeah.
way is
and that everything was pink.
yes.
Every single thing was pink.
I think that's I'm curious to see what the choice because they kept her pink the whole time, in
Yeah.
which the stage show does not.
No, she doesn't. They don't. They make
She's
her
in
blue.
in the beginning. She's in yellow during One Short Day.
Yeah, but they gave her
and
pink for everything.
for everything, which
And
they do it so well that I'm not mad about
not
it.
mad about it,
And
yeah.
like I won't like hold it to like again, it's a change that I'm like there wasn't enough reason in the stage show for them to have done it that way
yeah,
to make me I've always thought like how weird that she's coming in blue at the beginning when she travels in a bubble in the original Wizard of Oz in pink.
yeah. I don't know.
That always
Confusing.
was a question.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because they couldn't have a bubble, so blue looked more
Oh yeah. Maybe
like it was a bubble.
Right. Yeah. That's possible.
That's my guess. I don't know. I don't know enough about that costume design and I'm not mad at the change.
No,
Because it was
yeah.
consistent and it felt like there was reasons for it. And the costumes were done so immaculately. Madame Morable's
God.
costume,
awesome. Every one of her outfits.
hand embroidered.
Her wig and
The jewelry, her jewelry.
her jewelry, her wacky wig that then when
yes,
she
when
like
she was-
when she's like asleep and like Elphaba like wakes her up and her wig like her hair's like a
hair's
little
just
bit
a little-
unkempt. I was like, oh my God.
That wig design.
It's so good.
So good.
Oh, it's really very good and acted beautifully. I
And
think the
technically
show is
acted beautifully.
acted beautifully, choreographed beautifully. And music sounds
Cynthia
so
and
good.
Ariana acting their faces off, singing their faces off, dancing their faces off.
All of the oh my God, It's
Everyone.
good. Yeah, it's so good.
Technically, it's
Mwah. Rewatch value.
I mean, we've already seen it
I
twice.
know, and I want to see
We've
it again.
watched the clips of it
I know,
so
I
many
keep being
times.
like, I want to watch it again
I'm
on
like,
the
can it
TV
be
so I can
higher
just go
than
back.
5?
Can I just go back and watch that again?
Seriously.
Yeah.
Like I keep like trying to like, I'm like, should I play? Like the songs are in my head, the clips are in my, like the dances are in my, like,
Yeah.
I mean, it makes me rethink this rating for other movies.
Yeah. It's like, this is what rewatch value feels
This
like.
is what a 5 is.
This is
really
what a 5
like.
feels like. Yeah.
And I think that will affect what rewatch value is
I think it
in
will.
the future.
I think it will.
Because like, I'm like, I can't think of another movie that I'm like, I mean, there are
other movies that I would want to see again, but it's that I have.
like Emperor's New Groove, obviously also a 5.
Yeah. Moulin
Could
Rouge
watch that
a
every
million
day.
times.
I just mean of the ones we've rated.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Emperor's New Groove, 5. But we might have to change up how we're thinking about that, because it's like, it's really different.
Yes. To be what a 5 actually looks like.
Yeah.
And I don't mind there being like a 5 can have a pretty, like, can have a range.
Yeah.
But like in rewatch value, for it to be this, like for it to be technically perfect, could have a range of what that looks like.
Sure.
Like they did everything they needed to technically. That doesn't mean some like the craftsmanship that went into the costumes is above and beyond in this movie.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean another movie didn't hit a 5
Sure.
in that
Of course.
with like much less craftsmanship.
Yeah. Right. Because it did its job.
Right.
Yeah.
When rewatch value is like, am I going home and like, can we rewatch it right now? Can I watch it 2 days in a row? Can I?
Yeah.
Because I like forget that happens sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
That literally, like, I was like, at first, because we saw it and I knew that my company was going to have that showing of it a couple days later.
Yeah.
And I was like,
oh my, I hope it's good. I
like,
am I gonna?
I don't know if I want to do that again. And I saw it the first time. I'm like, no, I want.
No, I want it. I want to see. Can we see it again right now? Can we stay here and just see it again? Are they just doing another showing?
It's like when you get on a roller coaster and they're like, yeah, you can go again. You're like, what? That's like, I would have done that. I would have sat in the theater and watched it again. I mean, give me more popcorn. Love popcorn.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah. Oh my gosh. Is this our first fully 5? No, I think we did that with Emperor's New Groove.
I think Emperor's New Groove is a 5. 5s across the board.
Ba-ba-da-ba! Rated.
Okay, superlatives.
Oscar
moment.
It just has to be Cynthia Erivo, her face during Dancing Through Life. Just like every moment of her face told a story and broke me.
Yeah.
So good.
For me, it's Ariana Grande. And it's like at the very beginning when she's in the bubble and then she's like, well, you know how busy everything is now with the wizard leaving, so I'm gonna go. And she like makes the bubble again, and it like sets up her humor the rest of the movie.
She did it.
She
found her own, because I mean, again, super fan of Glinda. You know, she has to have a very specific set of
quirks and
they each have a little different flavor, and she found her own. She has hers, and it's so good.
Oh, they're so stupid. Like Popular is so good. She just like throws the ball up and doesn't catch it on her finger, and her finger's just
so
there.
fucking funny.
Oh my god, it's so good. But yes, the bubble. Boop. I'm gonna go.
Unearned moment.
Unearned.
I'm gonna say
the cameo.
Yeah, it's the one.
It's the cameo.
I would say like the Yellow Brick Road moment feels a little horned in there.
Yeah.
It doesn't, I think it does serve purposes, but it does feel really like, well, I was just thinking, what color should I make the roads?
Yeah, it's a little inelegant, but I don't know if it just like it was poorly, not poorly even, just like,
but that's
it is
why
horned in
unearned.
a little bit. Yeah,
but that's because they haven't set it up that would.
Yeah,
like,
I do like what it does though.
I like what it does, but it's not. It doesn't. It's not like set up enough beforehand for us to feel that it's.
Yeah, that it's like, why are we talking about the road now?
Yeah,
yeah.
It feels like when, well, especially it feels like the moment in Romeo and Michelle where they're like making up a story about Post-its.
Oh my God.
And
yes. And she like
they're
knows.
like, oh, we'll just say that you decided that it was yellow. All that Romy did was say that, or all that Michelle did was say that it should be yellow. Like, because it's like, it's so fabricated.
Yeah.
That it like almost feels like that moment. And it is kind of a fabricated moment.
Sure. Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yeah.
And maybe it reads better when you know what's already going on.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe, but I don't dislike the moment, but it did even feel like, okay, we didn't need to have them pick the color of the road. That's a lot of things. And it's like, again, that's like, I guess the thing that like, if I would give this guy any credit, it's that like, maybe he was picking up on like these so many Easter eggs that they're dropping in that sometimes it feels clunky.
Yeah, clunky and pandering. It could.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I
would
think it
accept
does.
those two moments, but yeah. But I think,
I disagree.
Yeah. With him.
Yeah. And I don't think they need to, but I can like, it does because there's so many of them. You start to feel a little bit like, okay, this is a different thing, right?
Yeah. Okay. So Yellow Brick Road and cameos.
Yeah.
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 Although
I like both those moments. I will say.
I do too.
Which is
and
crazy.
there is like the successful cameo of Stephen Schwartz.
The Wizard Will See You
The
Now.
Wizard Will See You Now. It's a perfect opportunity.
Okay.
That was perfect.
It's great.
Stephen Schwartz is in that film. I love it.
It's lovely.
He looks so funny. He's so goofy looking.
Yeah.
Ugh. He looks like a munchkin.
Favorite new reorchestration.
Ooh. I was thinking about this. Because in... Oh, God, what was it? It's... in... No One Mourns the Wicked, at the very beginning.
At the very beginning.
There's a moment where it's like this epic orchestration, and I think it's right before everybody sings. They add in dun 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 dun. They add in a Ding Dong the Witch is Dead moment. They added so many moments like that in this film, and it's
little motif,
and it's just like this
just
motif of like a horn. It's just like out in the distance, and you hear the dun 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 dun, and you're like, and they're gonna sing about the Wicked Witch being dead. Oh,
yeah.
I really loved No One Mourns the Wicked. It's just like so epic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's Wizard and I. The orchestration is, I mean, it's so beautiful to start. It's very cinematic. It feels very old.
Yeah.
Old movie, lots of strings, very string heavy, very beautiful orchestration. And then it's kind of like minimal at the end, a little groovy. And it just it really just punches at the end.
Yes, it does.
Especially with her vocals being so gorgeous all the way up until that point.
And then she melting her face. Oh, it's good.
Then she just dips into that power for the first time, and you're like, oh, it's good.
Yeah,
I think that, and just it's good. It's powerful.
Really good.
I love it. I think The Wizard and I really started the waterworks, and
yeah. Let's say biggest surprise.
Biggest surprise. Oh my God, so many surprises.
Yeah, I think for me, I was most surprised how good Bowen Yang was.
Really?
Dancing, and
sure.
I mean, it just he fit in the world.
Yeah.
And it just worked so well, and I was so surprised because I that was one thing that I was worried about, I think, in the beginning, where I heard he was in. I was like, okay,
feels a little bit.
It feels a little kind of pandery again. It's another thing where I'm like, okay. but it just worked so well.
I think he respects it.
Yeah.
But like it also like, I mean, he was doing those dances.
He did the dances.
And he brought his brand of comedy.
Yeah.
And it like drops into that world really nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, in general, mine, well, I don't know. There's so many. I want to say Ariana's singing generally because I think that was like the most pleasant surprise where I was like, she didn't popify it.
Mm-hmm.
She just sang legit. She just sang, like she had moments but like appropriate for the show.
Song,
like,
yeah.
But that she was fully committed to
the Glinda-fication. Yeah.
Yeah.
The legit, yeah.
And didn't try to add in sneaky
riffs,
belts or riffs or, and of course they're beautiful. I think they were very tasteful with the additional riffs and because that's already a piece of like Wicked is like you go in and you know who's riffing and again, like that's part of the fun, but it has to be done so minimally even on the stage, like always,
right.
But I think, Ariana's voice, but maybe the way they cut up Defying Gravity, it surprised me. There were so many breaks in it.
Yeah.
And every time I'm like, what are we doing? Oh my God, that's what this is.
We're doing that. Yeah.
And it's
how the breaks actually worked.
And they function and they are moving and they give space and time to it. Do I think they could have done it a little bit more straight through? Probably, but like I was surprised at how much I didn't hate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That surprised me.
Mm-hmm.
Because if someone told me that was coming, I would have been like,
oh.
And I did have moments like
you're like, wait, what is happening?
Why is it? Oh no, this is happening? What's going on? Oh my God. It's good.
Yeah.
But they really, they sold me.
Yeah. Yeah. Mom. All right. Let's wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Two Grooms, One Plot. Follow us wherever you follow your podcasts and follow us on the social media and watch us on the YouTube because we wore thematic clothes today. I was Glinda and Colin was Elphaba. I'm in pink and he's in green. Thanks so much. I'm Pavi Proczko, and remember, everyone deserves a chance to fly.
And I am Colin Funk, and remember that sometimes drawn out and self-important is a good thing.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Two Grooms, One Plot, a Pavitas Productions project, hosted by Colin Funk and Pavi Proczko. This podcast was produced by Chicago Podcast Studio. Our opening cartoon was created by Gloriu, and our theme song was composed by me, Pavi Proczko. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite listening platform. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at Two Grooms, One Plot for updates on new episodes and behind-the-scenes content. If you have any feedback, comments, concerns, or kudos, you can email us at twogroomsOneplot@gmail.com. Please rate and review us wherever you can. It would help us out a bunch. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next time.